My name is Ariana Fajardo Orshan, and I am the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. Meetings. Every day is different. Honestly, every day it starts off with an agenda and things that we're going to accomplish. And then there's always new things that are happening that kind of pop up, and then we kind of deal with those issues. Sometimes it's great things, like yesterday was an award ceremony that police officers and agents wanted to give one of the prosecutors, so we had to schedule that in, and that was a positive thing. You know, today it's a negative, Herald article about the office. So it's just one thing, you never know what's going to come up on a daily basis. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I think since I was in high school, I remember talking to my family and saying that I wanted to be a lawyer. My grandfather was a lawyer. My great aunt was a lawyer, both of them in Cuba. My grandfather didn't like the practice of law, so he was trying to negotiate, and he said, if somebody goes to med school, I'll pay med school. And I said, I don't want to go to med school. I'm going to be a lawyer. I think the debate, I think the way, I think words in the legal system can mean two different things. And being a good lawyer is making sure that your words, when they're read in the future, mean what you want them to mean and not what somebody else interprets them to mean. No, I began law school thinking I was going to be a tax lawyer. I'm not sure why. I did some accounting in undergrad, but I ultimately didn't graduate with an accounting degree. I don't know. I was attracted to the rules, I think, the code, and then after my first year of law school, I took the summer off, and I wasn't going to do anything. And I got an opportunity to be an intern at the state attorney's office, and I fell in love with being a prosecutor. I think it's never good to disclose financial and personal information out in the public because it tends to be used sometimes in nefarious ways. For example, there was an occasion, I think, where Governor Scott's wife, her financial disclosure as a result of it got used in some kind of fraudulent scheme. As far as public trust, yes, of course, you always want to, provide full disclosure, make sure that you don't have any interest that might be jeopardized by your role and in making decisions. But I do think that there are some, in today's day and age, with the internet and with so much access to personal information and all the fraud that we see, I do have some concerns about the way it's disclosed. It was interesting because while you're going through this process, you are prohibited from actually speaking to any current prosecutor in the office or the current U.S. attorney. So for a year, I was undergoing the process of my nomination and my background and all of that, and I couldn't speak to anybody. So I spoke to people who had left the office, and they kind of gave me an idea of some of the people that were still here. So the moment that I received my Senate confirmation, I think the next day or so, I started coming around the office and just walking around. I would come over once I was done on the bench, because if you remember, I was on the circuit court bench before I came here. So once I was done on the bench around 4 o'clock, 4:30, I would walk over and walk these hallways, for a couple hours every day and start getting to know people. Once I officially started, I started to have meetings. I started Monday. Tuesday morning, I had a meeting with the entire office, so that was nice. And our other offices, our northern offices in Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach and Fort Pierce are able, some of them came down, others were available in video. So I had an office-wide meeting, and I continue to just walk around and get to know people. It's almost 500 employees. It's a lot of employees. The Department of Justice just has a rule until your Senate confirmed, and I think it also has to do with we can't presume we're going to, just because we're nominated, we can't presume, the Senate's going to confirm us. So I think in order not to taint any of the process, we respect that this is a nomination by the President, and the Senate has the right to have an input, and they confirm it. So until that confirmation comes in, we don't participate with the office, and we respect that. It's funny because people kind of looked and did a little bit of research into who I am, my expectations. I work hard. I expect them to work hard. I think, I'm a pretty easy person to work with in some regards. I also think that I have a lot of expectations as to what I want to do and how I want to see things done. And I expect everybody to, support those decisions once those decisions are made. But I don't make decisions in a vacuum. So I kind of ask, we discuss. Once a decision is made, I want everybody on board with that decision and making sure that it's effectuated. I was never a federal prosecutor. So I think coming into an office while I was a state prosecutor and a state court judge, and I had done both some civil and criminal work in my professional career, I think I had never been a federal prosecutor. And that was an unusual situation coming into this office. So I wanted them to respect my work, even though I hadn't been a federal prosecutor. And I think all these federal prosecutors have an expectation like, well, if we're going to have a leader, it's going to be somebody who knows what our job is. So I think getting them to understand that I know what their job is and that I respect their job, and even though I haven't done it, I'm going to learn it and understand it. I think that was the biggest hurdle. I wanted to make sure that I was respected by my colleagues here at the office. There's so many. There really is. It's just an amazing opportunity to lead, to represent this office in the community. They do a lot of great work on a daily basis in this building, and it a lot of times goes understated. And I want to be, the voice of all of the people here. I want to be the voice, all of these people protect our communities and make sure that everybody's safe. So I take that very seriously, and when I go out in public, I represent each one of the lawyers and each one of the persons that work in this office. So that to me is a big representation, just like I tell them, when you guys go out there, you guys represent me. So, it's just an amazing opportunity. It's interesting, when I was going through this process, when you go through any process, you want to achieve your goals based on your hard work and your ethics and, your reputation, not because you're male or female. But I didn't really think about it as I was going through the process. Then it was brought to my attention. I said, really? There hasn't been another woman? And then we kind of investigated. There was one woman when the branches, when it was the Middle District and when it became Middle and Southern District of Florida, there was a woman who held the position for maybe 2 or 3 months. She wasn't Senate confirmed. She was just appointed for a short period of time. I'm now the official, Senate confirmed woman in the office. And I think it's a great responsibility. Once it's sunk in, because again, I didn't start off this mission like I want to be the first woman U.S. attorney. Once it sunk in, I really looked at girls in my family, like, nieces and daughters of friends, and I'm like, this is paving a way, and I'm part of that history, and it's really cool. It's a really cool opportunity, and I think I have a lot. I want to do a good job, and I want to lead by example, and I want other girls to take that step.